Hello there. Welcome to the second episode of Fiscal Talk featuring Turkey. With me again, an expert on Turkey, Stefan Ditrih, a legal consultant at Fiscal Solutions. Stefan, hi, how are you doing?
Hi Anna, very good. How are you? I'm so happy to be here in another episode. We are continuing our Turkish journey. So
Yeah,
hopefully this will be useful for everyone watching us on YouTube.
I am sure it will. What are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about the requirements of the software fiscalization system in Turkey. In the last episode, we talked about the hardware fiscalization system, which is an older version of fiscalization in Turkey, well established, dating back to 35 years ago. But today we're going to talk about something newer. So
Perfect.
yeah, yeah,
Let's just dive in.
let's dive in. So in the last couple of years, there have been some changes regarding the fiscalization system in Turkey. So following the trend that affected many fiscalization systems in last few years, Turkey has introduced a software version of fiscalization by adding the option for taxpayers to use what's called the e-document system. And don't worry, I'll explain what the system means in a second. So if you're using the e-document system, you're exempt from using any hardware devices. So we're switching our focus from having to have a certain type of cash registers to having to use software platforms to fiscalize our transactions. And now it doesn't matter what kind of hardware we use. So this e-document system was introduced in 2020, but due to the COVID outbreak and some other problems, it took a while for it to be actually used by more and more retailers. Now it's kind of picking up. It's still very new. It's in infancy, but it's being used because many companies are recognizing the benefits of using the software fiscalization system rather than having to rely on hardware devices. So, for the purposes of retail specifically, a special kind of B2C e-invoice was developed in Turkey, and it's called e-archive. I know the name is a little bit confusing, but it is used specifically for retail. First, it was used just for e-commerce, but you can use it in your everyday brick and mortar stores instead of issuing fiscal receipts from the cash registers. You can issue an e-archive invoice, as I said, which is a special kind of the B2C invoice used in Turkey. So this e-document system encompasses more than just retail. It covers e-invoicing, e-waybill, e-tickets, e-ledger, but we are, of course, focusing our attention on the e-archive or the e-invoices that can be used in retail, meaning that as a company, you're issuing this invoice to regular people, so not to other companies. So, what steps you need to take to use the e-archive system? First of all, you need to be part of the e-invoicing system first. So you have to apply with the tax authority to get the electronic signature and their approval to use the invoicing system, and then you can apply to use the e-archive system, a system that you can use in retail. So there are two ways how to use the C archive system. So you can use your own information processing system, or you can go to one of the private integrators, private e-invoicing platforms, which have received permission from the tax authority to operate e-invoicing in Turkey. So they're already pre-approved. They have the entire infrastructure set up. And what you need to do is integrate your POS or your ERP with their system. If you're going to use your own system to process e-archive, you need to have it certified by the Turkish government, and the certification process is pretty long and complex. And you, apart from fulfilling all the requests published by the Turkish tax authority, they are published in the e-archive application guide. You also have to have very robust infrastructure because your system has to be up and running 24/7 in order to be approved to self-process e-archive invoices. So as you can imagine, it's a little bit easier to just go through one of the integration platforms and integrate with their system. So how it works in reality, you also have to fulfill two additional conditions. So not everyone can use still. I mean, they are broadening the scope of application, but as of yet, not everyone can use the e-archive system. So you have, as a company, you have to achieve a gross revenue of 10 million Turkish lira, which is around half a million euros a year, and you have to have equity totals around 1 million Turkish lira, which is 50,000 euros, around 50,000 euros. Apart from that, you have to possess at least 20 points of sale or 20 cash registers to be able to switch to the e-archive system. So this system is available for medium to large companies. It's still not available for smaller retailers. So now the question I had for when I first time started researching this, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers also will have. So what if you're just starting to operate your business in Turkey? You still don't have any revenue in Turkey. How are you going to be compliant and apply for e-archive if one of the condition is to meet the revenue threshold? So if you're just starting your business in Turkey, they will not look at your revenue because you don't have any. The only criteria they will use is whether you have at least 20 points of sale or 20 cash registers. So they will just look at that number. But in the first year of operation, you have to meet the revenue goals. If you don't, then your license to use the e-archive services may be revoked, and you'll have to switch to using new generation cash registers or switch to the hardware system, which if you have many stores and many points of sale can be quite a task. So that's something to take into account before applying for e-archive. And how it works is that you integrate with the, as I said, private integration platform. The list of companies operating as private integrators is published by the Turkish Tax Authority. And you go through the integration process with them. They will send you all the documentation necessary to complete the integration process and how it works in the store. So you will process the transactions with your POS system. You will send it to the invoicing platform, and they will fiscalize the transaction and return it back to you. From there, you can either print your invoice or send it to your customers, depending on what kind of business you're running. And in addition to fiscalizing every transaction, what the integrator platform does also is every day they will extract all the transaction details from every transaction you send them, and they will compile it into an e-report, which is mandatory to be sent to the tax authority every day. So when using the hardware system, you have to send end-of-day reports to the tax authority, but with the e-archive system, the integration platform does that for you. So they will compile all the transaction data into one report and send it to the tax authority. Also, if they do not fail to send the report, you can still continue doing business, but it needs to be sent within 24 hours. If you don't, you can face fines if you omit to send it. So that's something to keep in mind. As I mentioned, the e-invoicing system in Turkey is pretty new. There is around 75,000 companies using e-invoicing services, but there is only around 15,000 companies using the e-archive application. And that is because companies are not yet aware of the benefits of the e-archive system. They're not really used to it because they're mostly used to the hardware system that was in place for 35 and some years. So it's very important to understand the system, to see what are its benefits, so you can understand better what works for your company, especially if you're just entering the Turkish market.
Now that we're talking about invoices, I wanted to ask you, how are actually invoices delivered to the customers?
Thank you, Anna. That is an important question because unlike with the hardware situation where you have to print a fiscal receipt, the e-archive invoices are handled a little bit different. So with the e-archive, there is no complex structures like with the e-invoicing when it comes to sending the message and response. And it's a simple structure where the tax administration is not in the center. So the transactions are not sent directly to the tax administration. Rather, as I said, the reports, daily reports are compiled and sent. So once you process a transaction, you send it to the invoicing platform, it gets fiscalized and returned to you. You have more than one option. So you can, of course, email the invoice to your customers, or you can print it. And here you can use any printer. So laser printer, thermal printer, it doesn't matter as long as you're able to print all the necessary elements. There is no predefined layout. Um, there's no layout defined by the law. So it's important just to have all the required or mandatory elements. So that also makes it easier to switch out printers, to use what the printer that works best for you, to issue e-archive invoices to your customers. Also, you can send them through, for example, your own application. If your company has like a loyalty program, you can send them through that application to your customers. You can send them via SMS. So depending on what kind of structure, what kind of architecture you have in the store, and the type of your business, you have very flexible options in sending e-archive invoices to your customers. So it's a very flexible system. As I said, not very widely used in practice. It's picking up speed every day. So we're expecting that more and more retailers, especially those just starting their business in Turkey, will opt for archive or the software fiscalization rather than going through the hardware fiscalization.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation, and thank you for watching us. This was the second episode of Fiscal Talk featuring fiscalization in Turkey. If you want more information, make sure to check out our fiscal portal, and I will put also our contact details so that you can contact us if you have some questions for us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the third and final episode where we'll be speaking about something that actually is probably the most interesting thing and something that everyone wants to know. But stay tuned to find out what's it about. Thank you
See
for
you in the next
watching.
episode. Bye.
Bye.